Well, hello and welcome to this session of ExecuNet Masterclass. I'm your host, as always, Tony Vlahos, and my guest this hour is nationally recognized franchise consultant and international best-selling author, Mr. Pete Gilfillan. These days, many executives, as you know, are reevaluating their work lives and pondering their options for the next great chapter in their careers. They're exploring, as part of their great transformation, the semi-absentee franchise model as a path that will bring them exciting fresh challenges, the pride of business ownership, as well as greater income security. And Pete is here to tell you all about this. Well, I'm always delighted to bring on today's guest. Pete Gilfillan, as I said, is the international best-selling author of Hire Yourself. He has a proven track record of changing people's lives. In fact, over the years, he has helped hundreds upon hundreds of executives explore franchise ownership and successfully reset their careers. With that brief intro, welcome back, Pete, to the ExecuNet stage. They are all yours.
Thank you, Tony. It is great to be here again. My name is Pete Gilfillan. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a franchise consultant. I'm an international best-selling author. But you know what I'm most proud of is that I'm a corporate escapee. So I'm excited for today. We are going to teach you how to plan your great transformation from a corporate job with a side business. I'm going to teach you about executive model semi-absentee franchise ownership as a path to escape the corporate world. I'm going to teach you about franchising, and I'm going to answer a lot of your common questions. Are you a corporate executive looking to take control of your destiny, to create career and income security, build a supplemental income, diversify your assets and your income, set up a plan to escape the corporate rat race, or live life on your terms, or just enjoy yourself? This webinar will be well worth your time. Let's start with my story because I suspect it's very similar to many of yours. I was told, go to college, get a degree, and get a job with a big company. And that's what I did. I got a job with Ford Motor Company out of college, and I got on the executive fast track. And I expected my career was going to be all 30 years at Ford. And then after 17 years, I'm in a staff meeting with my team. I'm running a very large sales and marketing organization. I get a call from my boss. And this is basically a call that says, hey, we're going to offer you a voluntary separation package. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm a top performer. My blood is almost blue. I bleed blue. What do you, I couldn't believe it. I was devastated. I put my life into Ford, and it was a top performer. And bottom line is that my wife and I thought about it, and we decided maybe it was time for us to escape the corporate world. So I basically took a little bit of time off, and then I started looking for new corporate positions as well as looking for businesses. I always wanted to have a business. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So after a couple months, I found a business to invest in. I had an LOI. It was a great business in my community, and then I also had a job offer from a company called Terex, and it was a great role. And my wife decided that income security came with a job. And so she wanted me to take the job, and we had a young family, so I took that job. And I was the head of Americas for Terex Construction Group, which meant I was gone all the time. Then I was promoted to head of global sales and production planning. So that meant that I was still gone all the time. And I was miserable. My family was miserable. And I got to a point where I was overseas on this business trip, and I wake up in this hotel room and it's pitch dark and I can't remember where I'm at. And I thought to myself, this is crazy, right? I'm not living in my life. I'm not present in my own life. I got this great wife. I got these young kids. I got a dog. I got a nice house, and I'm sitting here in a hotel room. So I decided right there that I was done. And that's began my entrepreneur journey. So I first invested in a junk removal franchise called Junk King. I bought the rights to 3 states for Junk King as a master franchisee. And I also, shortly after that, launched my franchise consulting business. I joined FranChoice, the consulting network. And that's really where I found my passion. So I sold my Junk King business, and I put all my time and energy into my franchise consulting because I am on a mission. I want to help executives take control of their destiny, build wealth, and live life on their terms, just like I did. So the book Hire Yourself was a bestseller. Basically, is a roadmap for that. In my good mentor, Darren Hardy, he's so good. He said something in a meeting we were in, and he said, the size of your life is determined by the size of the problem you solve. And I thought, God, this is my thing. This is what I can do. I can help executives take control of their destiny, build wealth, and live life on their terms. And so my promise to you today is I'm going to encourage you to set up your great transformation with a franchise side business. I'm going to teach you about the executive model, semi-absentee franchise ownership. I'm going to answer a lot of your common questions about franchising, and I'm going to offer you some great resources at the end of the webinar. We are going to answer a lot of your questions today. We are going to teach you about franchising. We're going to find out if franchising is right for you. We're going to find out about investment levels, what kind of capital requirements are. How do I find the right franchise? Can I replace my corporate income? What are the advantages and disadvantages of franchise ownership? We're going to cover a lot today. So let's get started. Are you a 50+ corporate executive? And why are more corporate executives taking the path of franchise ownership? Well, I believe the future for corporate executives is going to be tough. There are going to be more layoffs, more downsizing. In fact, I just read today, Ford has just announced more layoffs of salaried people, which I thought was crazy from that standpoint. There is going to be more underemployment, consulting, contract work. That is kind of the new reality. Companies don't have to be committed to you. They can just use you for a period of time and then just let you go. And you're seeing that now the world is different. When I started, you started with a company and you were expected to be there for 30 years. Now people are changing every 4 years, changing their jobs, which is just crazy to me from the standpoint. And I think it's actually even less than. And we're seeing now increasing age and unemployment discrimination. And most people understand age discrimination. It's when we get in our 50s, we have a target on our back. But it is also unemployment discrimination, and that's where you're out of work for more than 6 months. Simply put, a company would rather have somebody that's employed with less experience than somebody that is unemployed but has more experience. So bottom line is there's continued increased age and unemployment discrimination. Now here's a scary stat. 50% of 50+-year-old corporate executives are pushed out of their company or forced into retirement before they're ready. Again, 50% of 50+ corporate executives are pushed out of their company before they're ready. Here's a scarier stat. Of the 50% that get pushed out, only 10% earn the same or higher salary with their new job. It's real. So why are more corporate executives taking the path of franchise ownership? Well, when I ask them that, they say, Pete, I want to take control of my destiny. I want to have independence. I want to create an income. I want to build an asset that I can someday sell or be a legacy for my family. I want to be my own boss, make the decisions. I want to make a difference or make an impact. I want to be engaged or have purpose. I want to be rewarded for my hard work, not the large corporation. If I work hard, I want to be the one that gets the benefits. I want to build, lead, and I'll even say mentor a team. I just want to be happy, satisfied, and proud. I want to create a family business where I may include my spouse, my significant other, my kids. And I want to leverage my personal capital to build something for myself. And I certainly want to beat ageism. And I want to create career and income security so nobody can mess with me going forward, or nobody can age me out of my career. So why I escaped to corporate America and what are the lessons that I learned? So you heard my story. I had to get out of the corporate world. I had to take back my life. And what I learned on my journey to become an entrepreneur is it's hard work to start a business. And I learned the hard way also is that I left my corporate job, high pay, all the benefits, and I just left to start the business. And if I did it all over again, I believe it's easier to do the executive model, semi-absentee, which we're going to talk about today, keep my corporate income, start the franchise on the side. It's just an easier path. I've got that income coming in that I can cover my living expenses as I'm building the business on the side. And you must always invest in yourself. And there's 100% accountability when you're the entrepreneur. And I learned accountability early on. I wrestled in high school. And bottom line is that when you're out on that mat, it was 100% accountability. I couldn't blame anything on anybody. It was how hard I train and stuff like that. There's the same thing with business. It is 100% accountability on you. And entrepreneurs are problem solvers. We have problems. They come up. We have to deal with them. It's nobody else's fault. We have to figure out the problems from a standpoint. Not having bosses, purposeless meetings, unrealistic objectives, and corporate politics is awesome. And it's cool when you have your own business, you get to live life on your own terms, but you still have to work hard. And we got to focus on our vital few functions. So I always look at it this way: the few things that I do really good, I do, and I hire other people to do the stuff. Focusing on your vital few is awesome. And we always want to leverage mentors and coaches. They can help guide us, help us build, become stronger. And when we own a business, it's a family affair. Everybody's included. They may not be involved in the business, but it is a family affair. And the cool thing about owning a business is you can make an impact in your community. You know, a lot of times when we're a senior level executive, we don't get to be engaged in the community the way we'd like. And so this can be very rewarding. So what is franchising and what's trending with franchise businesses? So first, a franchise, you're basically buying the rights to use a business model from a franchisor. So a franchisor has figured out all the systems, the process, procedures. You as the franchisee are buying the rights to use that for a period of time, and you are paying a franchise fee for the rights to use that franchise business model. Now, the franchisor is going to give you ongoing support, and for that ongoing support for the life of the contract, you're going to pay for that, and it's called royalty. So you're going to give up a percentage of your revenue each month to get that support that they're going to offer you. Now, franchising, when I talk about franchising, everybody thinks about Subway, Dunkin' Donuts, and McDonald's. And certainly there are a lot of Subways and Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, but franchising is available everywhere now. There are over 3,000 franchise companies. I bet the number is approaching 4,000 now. And they're in 75 different industries. And again, it touches our lives when we don't think about it. So think about a Saturday. You get up and you go work out. Yeah, that's a franchise. You stop up and get a cup of coffee. Yeah, that's a franchise. On your way home, you pick up your dry cleaning. That's a franchise. You get your oil changed in your SUV. That's a franchise. You pick up your kids and take them to the martial arts class. That's a franchise. On the way back, you stop off and get a sub sandwich. Yeah, that's a franchise. On your way home, you stop off and get some other stuff. Yeah, that's probably a franchise. You pull into your driveway and you know what? There's a van in the driveway. They're washing the windows of your house. That is a franchising. Franchising touches every aspect of our lives, and it is a huge impact on the US economy. There are over 800,000 franchise establishments out there today, employing over 8.5 million, and the GDP contribution is a little over what would be, or a little under $500 billion. Franchising touches every aspect of our lives. And there are two basic business models when we talk about franchising. So there are service-based franchises that go to people's homes or businesses and provide a product or service. So like they could do home improvement, painting, flooring, closets, garages, window treatments, anything. There are professional services where they'll go to buildings and wash the windows, or commercial cleaning, restoration, plumbing, anything you can think about from that standpoint. And there are personal services, like if my mom needs a little extra help in her house, in-home care, she can have an estate sale when she's selling her house. So there are tons of service-based franchises out there. And then there are facility-based franchises. So think of that strip mall. Somebody takes 2,000 square feet to create a place where you can get a haircut, get a sub sandwich. We're seeing a lot of activity in fitness, wellness, massage, medi-spas, weight loss. Beauty will always be important. Health, hair care, nails, facials, lash extensions, hair removal, and certainly stuff around kids, tutoring, martial arts, sports training, all that kind of stuff. So what is the best franchise model for 2022? Well, there's a growing movement. Franchise ownership is where people are really wanting to work on the business, not in the business. They want to set up the overall direction, make key decisions while overseeing a manager, kind of that executive model, semi-absentee. So when we talk about franchising, there is different levels of engagement. So some people, they just want to invest in a franchise where they're working in the business. That is the artisan franchisee. And really they're not worried about growing, they're creating a job for themselves. Most of the executives I work with are not interested in the artisan franchisee, but rather the executive model franchisee. And when we're talking about that, we really want to work on the business, not in the business. And over time, we want to grow it. So executive model, again, from a standpoint is you don't want to be the one doing whatever it is. You don't want to be spraying lawns, you don't want to make sub sandwiches, but you may be involved in an executive model full-time where it's 40, 50 hours a week, minding the business, not doing it as an artisan. But what we're here to talk about today is the executive model semi-absentee. And that's where you get the business going. You put a manager in place, you watch over that manager 15 to 20 hours a week. You don't have to be there every day, but you still need to be minding your business. In both cases, whether you're involved in it full-time or semi-absentee, you plan to grow it and build it to a larger business from that standpoint. So as we talk about kind of good, the best executive semi-absentee franchise opportunities, here are a couple examples for you. So we mentioned there's executive model, facility-based. So Yoga 6 might be an example where they're taking yoga, they're reinventing yoga, making it modern from that standpoint, and very, very cool. Well, that's one where you could own the Yoga 6 and you could put a manager place and watch over that manager 15 or 20 hours a week. Now, on the service side, a good example of an executive model semi-absentee service-based franchise would be Mighty Dog Roofing. So again, you can put a manager place, you can watch over that manager 15 or 20 hours a week. So these are some examples of good semi-absentee franchises, either service or facility. So what is semi-absentee franchise ownership? Well, it allows you to keep your corporate position while starting a franchise on the side. So you can leverage the semi-absentee business model to create that side business. You can keep your corporate position, i.e. your income, while you're starting the franchise business on the side. And after the business is established, you can watch over that manager 15 or 20 hours a week. Again, we always need to be minding our business. So what do you need to know about executive semi-absentee ownership? Well, it takes work to get the business going. And finding and leading that operating manager, the person that's going to be there when you're not there, is critical to the success of your business. Now, you're going to always have to mind your business 15 or 20 hours a week. Now, some people less, some people more, but that's a general good guideline. And your leadership and time management skills will have a major impact on the performance of the business. So why are executives leveraging semi-absentee model to start a business on the side? Well, they want to leverage their corporate income while starting the franchise on the side. They want to diversify their assets, their income. They want to create that supplemental income stream to build wealth and to protect themselves from future layoffs. And they want to set up their great transformation plan to escape their corporate job and live life on their terms when they're ready. Now, remember, if you remember anything from today, jobs are no longer income security. Jobs, you're renting your income. As a business owner, you will never be laid off. You will not be given separation packages. You will not be furloughed. You will have income security when you own the business. So is franchising right for me? Well, you have to determine what characteristics are important to you. Like what level of engagement? Do you want to be the artisan? Do you want executive model semi-absentee? How much income or cash flow do you want the business to generate? Do you or want to manage and lead employees? Do you want to open up one location or 4 locations? Where do you want it to be geographically from a location standpoint? How important is status? Do you care what other people think of the type of business you own? Are you comfortable telling people about your business, doing business development? Can you tell people how your business can help with your product or services? Are you going to include family members, spouse, significant other, your kids? What kind of schedule do you want? Do you want a lifestyle business that's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5? Or are you okay with the 24/7 business? What's your tolerance to risk? How long do you want to own the business? You want to own it 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? You also need to know your skills and your strengths. Are you good at business development and sales? Are you comfortable managing and leading people? Do you have the ability to follow a process? Do you like satisfying customers or taking care of customers? And can you process change and evolve over time? Now, when I was at Ford, I was in the market rep department. And at Ford, we would grant the Ford franchise to dealers. And we would use what was called the 4 C's. So we would look at that candidate to award the Ford dealer, and we'd say, do they have the capacity? Do they have the business acumen to be awarded the Ford franchise? We'd look at their character. Have they lived a life of good character? We would also look to see, do they have enough capital to be successful? And we also looked at, do they have a history or a passion towards satisfying customers? When I wrote the book, Hire Yourself, I added the 5th C, which is cooperation. Can you work with others? Because this is a partnership. Also, you want to look to see, do you have the traits of successful business owners? Are you disciplined? Are you confident? Are you open-minded? Are you a self-starter? Are you competitive? Are you creative? Are you determined? Are you passionate? Do you have strong people skills? Do you have a solid work ethic? So what's it take What's the minimum investment to get into franchising? Well, there's a significant range when we talk about investing in franchises. So we'll break it down into two categories. Service-based franchises, again, where we go to people's homes or businesses and provide a product or service. So a minimum investment, or a way to say it is, the least, you're going to have to be something greater than 100,000. So at a minimum, you're going to be investing $100,000 into a service-based business. And facility-based franchise, because we're building out that facility, the minimum investment is 200,000. So it's something greater than $200,000. So what are the capital requirements to get into a franchise? And what are good sources of capital? So there are two primary capital requirements when we look to invest in a franchise. The first one, all franchises will require you to have so much liquid capital to be eligible to invest in the franchise. Now, liquid capital in the eyes of franchising is very loosely defined. It could be cash, stocks, bonds. It could be equity that you have in your home that you tap through a home equity line. It could be retirement dollars. Then instead of investing stocks and bonds, is actually investing in business. So it's about anything that's not like an SBA loan. The second requirement they have is you have to have so much personal net worth. And again, net worth is assets minus liabilities equals net worth. So you need a minimum of $100,000 net worth. And the liquid capital requirement, again, is $75,000 to $100,000, a minimum of $75,000 to $100,000. Now, fortunately, there are many different ways in which we can fund our business. I like to call this the funding wheel. SBA loans are pretty prevalent now. Small Business Administration, they don't do the loans. They guarantee the loans for the financial institutions that are providing the loans to the businesses. And when we talk about SBA loans, they're pretty common. You're gonna be able to borrow a range of money. It is a variable rate, so it's prime plus a couple points. You're gonna have to put down 20 to 30%. There's all kinds of fees, origination fees, closing fees, guarantees fees. So this is a pretty good way to fund your business. There are what we call SBA Express loans. They're a lower amount. They're just a little bit easier to get. There are traditional loans or conventional or commercial loans. You really do need industry experience with this, so we don't see a lot of that. Some franchisors do in-house financing or have arranged third-party financing. A lot of people use equity in their home to fund their business. They use a home equity line. Some people use friends and family money. They use outside investors. A lot of people today are using their retirement, their 401k, their IRAs to fund the business in a tax compliant way. So instead of your 401k investing in stock, actually invests in your business. And some people are using their stock portfolios, taking a line against that, actually paying themselves interest, which is very, very cool. So many different ways in which you can do this. And this is a good example of how you can leverage your financial resources to scale business. So these are all fictitious, but let's say you are going to open up 3 franchise locations. And let's just say the first location, you decide to fund it with $90,000 worth of cash, and you're going to do an SBA loan for $210,000. So the total investment is $300,000. Now, when it comes time to open up the second location, you decide that you're going to do a little home equity line of $90,000, and you're going to take a little bit of retirement out of your retirement savings, leveraging the ROPS program at $210,000 for the same $300,000. You use a different combination. And then location 3, you say, you know what, I'm going to take a little bit more out of retirement. I'm going to do a conventional loan and to get to the $300,000. So there's many different ways in which you can leverage your capital to do that. Now, one of the questions people love to ask me is, can I replace my corporate income through franchising? And the answer is, the financial performance of a franchise business depends 100% on you. I can for sure tell you it takes a certain amount of time and scale to replace a corporate level income. And only you can determine how much time and scale it takes you to meet your financial objectives. We're going to go through a kind of a quick example here. These are all fictitious numbers, but let's say that you're a person that I'm just going to keep a corporate job. I have no interest in franchising. I'm just going to keep my corporate job. And that is the column on the left-hand side, corporate executive salary. And I got a salary of $200,000, and I'm fortunate over the next 5 years, I get salary increases. And after 5 years, I'm making $240,000, but I unfortunately get laid off. I do not have an asset. That $240,000, I have been renting my income. So I don't have an asset. That is gone. Now, let's just say I was going to leave the corporate world and I'm just going to invest in opening up 3 franchise locations over 3 years. And that represents the big box in the middle. And I open up my first location in year one, but I don't pay myself any salary or income. And then I basically year two, I open up my second location. I take a little salary from the first one, but I just get the second one open. Year three, it starts getting a little more interesting. Unit one, I take a salary of 75,000. Unit two, 50,000. And then I just get the third unit open. Now, a break point is year four. So I take a little salary of $100,000 from unit one, 75 from the second, and $50,000 for your third. And I'm right on top of my corporate salary. It would have been. And year five, now I've built it up to an income of $300,000, but I have built an asset that I could potentially sell as a multiple. Now, what if I decided to do the executive model semi-absentee? The red box represents that. So what if I decided to keep my corporate job, and after year five, I have a salary of $240,000. I built a side business that generates $300,000 of income, and I built an asset that I could potentially sell, or it could be a legacy for my family. So again, it takes a certain amount of time and scale to replace a corporate income, and only you can determine how much time it takes. So how do I find the right franchise? Well, finding the right franchise that fits you, you need to know what characteristics you're looking for in a business. What do you want to accomplish with the business? You certainly want to leverage an investigation process, a set process to do your due diligence. And I always tell people when we're looking to find a franchise that fits you, keep an open mind, because what we believe to be true about businesses and what can actually be can be totally different. So just keep an open mind. And I always tell people as they explore franchises, have fun, because you get the opportunity to learn about some different things that you might never have had a chance to do that. And remember, when we're looking to invest in a franchise, don't take your hobby and turn it into a business. The definition of a hobby is something you do outside of the work. If you make your hobby a business, it is no longer a hobby. There's a great example in the book E-Myth Revisited about a person that loved baking. That was their hobby. They had all the great recipes. They loved baking. They opened up a bakery. It turned out to be a rotten, terrible experience. Don't turn your hobby into a business. When we're looking to find a franchise, I believe there's three ways to do it: good, better, and best. A good way to go find a franchise opportunity is to go to some of these sites where you can click box on multiple different franchise concepts, give them all your information, and you're going to get that information. But unfortunately, your information may be sold, so that franchise companies may be reaching out to you, franchise consultants might be reaching out to you, and that's not a great experience. Maybe a better experience is go find a business that you like, go to their website, see if they offer franchise opportunities. And that's okay, but you're going directly into their sales funnel. Nobody's really helping them. So the best way is to leverage a franchise consultant, somebody like myself. It's a free service that gets an understanding of what you're looking for, what you want, and connects you with potential franchise matches. So when I work with people to help them through the process, a journey of exploring franchises, I have them fill out a simple questionnaire just so I can have a base understanding of them. Then I do a consultation call. I get on the phone for 75 minutes. I ask them questions. I listen. I take notes so that I have a really good understanding of what's important, what they want if they were to invest in a franchise. I will actually create a written summary for them. We'll call that a model. And I will go look for franchises that align with what they shared with me. I actually leverage FranChoice. They've been screening franchise companies for over 20 years. And I'll come back after about a week's time and present those franchises to the candidate. I'll connect them to the companies. And then they start their due diligence. They have to do their due diligence. They go through a series of steps. And I'm going to be there by their side, teaching them, coaching them, providing resources, helping them get past the fear of making a decision. So the investigation process, the process that people go through to investigate franchises, the first thing you got to know is you got to understand what characteristics you're looking for in a business. You got to determine what level of engagement, type of business, like service, facility-based concepts. So you got to get a good understanding of that. And then when you get and find franchise concepts, you go through 4 core steps as part of your due diligence, and only you can do your due diligence. Now, generally this happens over 6 weeks, some people 4 weeks, some people 12 weeks. The first step in the franchise investigation procedures is the introduction call. So that's where the franchisor gives you a great overview of the franchise concept. They answer a lot of your questions. You guys start forming a relationship. The second step is what we call the franchise disclosure document. All franchises are required to have it. It's called franchise disclosure document. The acronym is FDD, and it has everything you need to know. So they're going to give you a copy of this. They'll have a call to review and answer any questions. The third step, in my opinion, is the most important step, is franchisee validation. As part of the process, you're going to get talked to actual franchise owners within the franchise system that you're interested in. And once you build rapport, you can ask them any question and they're allowed to answer. It is the best part of the whole process. The last step is what we call the discovery day, meet the team day, confirmation day. You're feeling good about a franchise company. They're feeling good about you. They invite you out to the corporate headquarters to meet the leadership team, meet support staff, see the operation. So you guys are making a final call on each other. Now, there are other little steps in between. They have a marketing call, a territory call, a leadership call, a funding call, little steps by comparison to these 4 steps. Now, when we're looking at franchises or considering franchises, some of the things you may want to consider is look at the experience of the leadership team. You know, it's one thing to lead a small business. It's another to lead a franchise system with 200 franchisees. And if you were to invest in the franchise, what is the support and training you would get to launch your business? Are franchisees happy within the franchise system you're considering? What's the image and the reputation of the franchise? What's the size of the franchise system? Do they have 5 franchisees or 500 franchisees? Is it a up and coming concept or is it established? Has it been around for a year or has it been around for 20 years? What's the culture and the feel of the organization? Does it feel like you're joining a family or does it feel like you're joining a Fortune 1000 company? What's the marketing model you're going to use to attract or drive customers? What's the support that you're going to get as a franchisee? And what's the level of assistance if it's a site, a facility-based concept? How do they help you find the site and build it out? And what's the overall financial strength of the franchise company? Now, remember, a franchise is a business partnership. It's a mutual approval process. So they have to want you as much as you want them. And as we talk about a franchise, it is a long-term partnership. So this is 10 years. You're going to be connected working with this franchise system for 10 years. And you're joining a peer group of other franchisees, which can be a really good thing. Now, we have been living with this crazy world of COVID-19 for over 2 years. And people go, is now the right time to invest in a franchise? And I believe there are 8 reasons right now could be a good time to invest in a franchise. Number 1, you want to start creating income security. Protect yourself from future corporate layoffs. You certainly want to diversify your assets and your income so that you are in control. You just have more flexibility. And certainly from a schedule and just living life on your own terms, a business allows you to do that. And I think we all took a little bit more stake in how important that was with COVID-19, right? Maybe we don't have to do business travel anymore, or we can have flexible hours in the way in which we want to do or live life on our terms. Certainly, I think now there's some softening in the commercial real estate, that there's an opportunity for landlords looking for new tenants. And we can certainly capitalize on pent up demand. And I think about all the demand, people trying to get product or services, like go try to get a pool. It's going to take you 2 years to get a pool. And this is a great time to validate franchises because you can talk to franchisees that have actually lived through COVID-19. So you can find out how the business partner stepped up and helped them, as well as how did the business model hold up during these turbulent times. Certainly, there may be resale opportunities coming out of this COVID-19. And certainly, there are economic resources that you can leverage, federal, state, as well as local. Now, don't get me wrong, COVID has created challenges, right? So one of the things we're seeing is it's hard finding employees and contract laborers. It's just, that's the long pole in the tent today. Franchisors are now putting in place things to help their franchisees find those core employees. Actually have, some of them are doing internal recruiting departments to help their franchisees. And certainly getting products or commodities can be difficult. And again, you get some value associated with franchise companies because they're buying it in bulk. That may be easier, but that's still difficult. And we're all having to incorporate health and safety protocols. That's just, I think, the new world that we live in. So there are certainly advantages and disadvantages to franchise ownership. You know, so some of the franchise advantages is that I look at franchising as being entrepreneur light. It's just an easier way. It still takes work to launch a business, but it's an easier path. You see, they're providing an operating system. It's really a business in a box. It is turnkey. And you get the training and the ongoing support. And there's some real value, as we talked about before, about being part of a network of other franchisees. You can lean on them or they can lean on you as you work through issues. And although business, there is always risk of failure, I believe you improve your chance of success with the franchise because it can save you time. It can certainly save you capital as you try to figure out the business. You know, franchise, they have the systems and process procedures, so you don't have to figure all that out stuff. And if you make less mistakes, that saves you capital. And I believe saving capital improves your chance of success. And a franchise is always improving the business model, refining it to be more successful. Now, certainly there are disadvantages to franchises, right? So one, you're going to pay for that business model. You're going to pay a franchise fee to use that business model for a period of time. And for that ongoing support, you are going to pay royalties or give up a percentage of your revenue each month for that support. You know, franchises are going to have restrictions. They don't want anybody to mess up the franchise system for all the other franchisees, so they have restrictions. And when we own a franchise, we must follow the system. Now, we can always make it better, but at a minimum, we must follow the system. And a franchise is a long-term commitment. It is a long-term agreement. And as I mentioned before, there is always risk with a business. And if you pick the wrong partner, it is just like marriage. If you pick the wrong partner, business partner, it can be a very painful experience. So why do people go through the process of investigating franchises and choose not to invest in a franchise? Well, franchising isn't for everyone. They just decide, hey, this isn't for me, and that's perfectly fine. It takes a lot of work evaluating franchises. It takes a lot of work to find your right business partner. And many people get caught up into fear and anxiety. It stops them from following their dreams. That false evidence appearing real, fear. From the standpoint, some people just don't have the capital. And if you can believe it, some people still believe a job equals income security. Hopefully we've broken that paradigm today. Some people have a maverick mentality. It's my way or the highway. Franchising would not be good for them. And sometimes people's family or friends kill their dream. One candidate I work with, literally, his family had a vote to decide if they would allow him to invest in a franchise. They voted down his dream. Some people are just not capable of making a decision. When we cannot make a decision, that is a decision. That is a no decision. Now, Tony and I, we get the opportunity to do these webinars and discuss franchising. And people reach out to me and say, Pete, I want to learn about that. And they also ultimately go through the process and they decide to create their own opportunities by investing in a franchise. And we have them back on to a webinar and we allow them to tell us their success stories or their journeys, very similar to how I shared my journey. So Jim Griffin is a fine example. Senior level executive decides he wants to leave the corporate world. He wants to do executive model, semi-absentee, open up multiple locations in multiple different states. So he tells his story about that. Bill Walsh, senior level executive, also decides he wants to do executive model full-time. So he invests in a window washing franchise, is involved in it full-time. No, he does not want to be the one washing windows. He tells that, right? He wants to be the one leading the organization. John Weiss is an entrepreneur as well as a business executive. And he really came and said, listen, I want to get out of the corporate world. I'm done with the corporate world, but I don't want to come up with the next big idea, kind of do a startup. I want to find a franchise where I can follow the systems and processes. It's just an easier path to building out a group or multiple franchise businesses. And then Mike Furnish wanted to keep his corporate job and do the executive model semi-absentee. Tells a story about keeping his corporate job and managing his franchise semi-absentee. So some great success stories. I encourage you to listen to these ExecuNet members that have taken the journey and share their success stories. Now, if you got more questions, we've covered a lot today, and I know I've moved very quickly. You can request a quick consultation call with me and we can discuss how you can explore franchise ownership to see if it is right for you. And I'll even give you a free copy of my book so that you have it. It'll be a good resource for you. So all you have to do is go to hireyourself.com/ExecuNet offer, put your information in there, schedule a time, and we can find out and talk a little bit more about franchising. I can answer your questions and see if it is the right path. So if you're a corporate executive that is looking to take control of your destiny, to create career and income security, to build a supplemental income, diversify your assets or income, or set up a plan to escape the corporate world over time, or you just want to live life on your own terms, or maybe even just enjoy yourself, you know what? I encourage you to schedule a time to have a quick conversation. And again, it may or may not be the right time for you, but I encourage you to learn. It is an exceptional path. With that, Tony, I'm going to turn it over to you
All
for
right, Pete,
questions.
I encourage everyone to follow the link that Pete has shared and that Kim has chatted to you. I'm getting lots of, as usual, very, I'll say personal questions. Can I afford this? Am I too old to do this? I'm going through a restructuring now. Is this something I should consider? Pete, I assure you will be able to answer all those questions, but rather than use the time now, I prefer, I think you would as well, to have that private time with them. And that's what that link is for. It's simply a conversation. So from there, let's segue into at least a couple of questions, Pete, of the more generic variety. And the first one relates to everything I just said, which is what is Pete's engagement model? In other words, who pays you? When are you paid? And walk us through that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So the great thing about leveraging my services is that my services will not cost the candidate anything. So they'll never sign anything. They'll never pay me anything for helping them. Now, they could go through this process, and after 6 weeks, they go, you know what, franchising is not for me. Well, then we just part way friends. So the way in which I get compensated for providing this service to candidates is, number one, is if the candidate invests in a franchise, I get a referral fee from the franchisor, very similar to, say, how like an executive recruiter is compensated. And second, and really important, is I hope if I do do a good job for them, that they refer me to other friends or colleagues that are unhappy that want to explore franchising. So that's how I can help people, and it doesn't cost them anything other than their very valuable time.
I want to underscore that in case anyone missed that. You don't have to pay Pete anything. And this call, you're probably wondering, well, why does ExecuNet arrange this with Pete? Well, because Pete knows what he's talking about. And secondly, we know that you're curious about your options and the possibilities that lie ahead. They don't have to be in corporate life. They could be in corporate life as well as somewhere else. And that's what the semi-absentee model that Pete has outlined today is all about. So thanks, Pete, for saying what you did. Let's get to a couple of more. And this one comes up a lot, right? What makes a successful franchise ownership? And on the flip side, why do some of these fail? Why do some of these ventures fail?
Yeah, so when we look at a success, I think of a couple things, and when I place somebody in a franchise, I have what is called the "Now That You're a Franchisee" speech. And so the first thing I would say is that we have to understand that it takes work to get a franchise going. And sometimes people think that because a franchise has the systems and the process and the procedures, that they don't have to work very hard. And that's just not the case. We have to work hard, number one. Number two is that really smart people invest in franchises, but they think that sometimes they're smarter than the system, and they don't follow the system that they invested in. And you have to follow the system. Now, that's what you invested in. So we want to follow the system. That doesn't mean we can't make it better. But if we do not follow the system, we may not make it. Number three is we have to be a problem solver. And I highlighted that during our presentation today. You see, we're going to have problems. We're going to have pandemics. We're going to have recessions. We're going to have problems. And as a business owner, we have to work through those problems. And that's just the reality of it. And so if you blame the problems on somebody else, bottom line is we have the problems, we have to figure it out, and we have to move on. Number four is we need to lead. So as a business owner, we're a leader, and we need to lead people, our team members, to drive the business from that standpoint. And so I think those are probably four really good points as we look at tying success to a franchise.
Okay. So we all know that running a business, whether it's your matrix corporation or a small business, requires some level of hustle. And I don't think that's the part that scares or concerns our audience generally. But the more precise concern is, hey, Pete, I don't have a background in sales or marketing. And if I take on this venture, will I be on the hook solely for the sales and marketing. What do you say to people who have that concern?
Yeah, most people don't have that sales and marketing experience. So they come and they don't have that, and you don't need that. Now you have to be a willingness to talk to people, right? If you don't like talking to people, telling them what your business does, and I'm not talking about cold calling, but if somebody called you up and said, "Hey, how can your business help us?" Right? Or somebody calls you out to their house or your team member out to the house, you got to be comfortable telling people about it. A franchise system has the ability where you can hire a salesperson from that standpoint, and they'll help train that salesperson, or they'll help train you in sales if you want to do it, or business development. And they'll also, from a standpoint of marketing, all of them have their marketing model. So you don't have to be an expert in marketing. Now you need to follow the system, invest in the marketing dollars to drive your business from that standpoint. So most people, whether it's an engineer, an IT executive, they don't have that experience. That's the strength of a franchise, is it's entrepreneur light, as I mentioned earlier.
So I want to take one more, Pete, and this one I believe goes to, actually, I'll take two more. This one I believe goes to the concept of multi-unit ownership, possibly. So here's the question. If you have more cash, let's say $1 million, is it better to buy an established franchise or invest in, say, 10 different franchises? Interesting question.
Yeah, so the question is, do I buy an existing business that has cash flow, or do I buy 10 different franchises? I guess the way I would look at it a little differently, I either buy an existing business or I buy a franchise and I'm going to open up 10 locations of that. So I'm going to scale, right? So the answer is, do you want to try to beat the clock? You're going to pay a premium. You're going to pay a multiple for that existing business. And so the question is, can you invest in a new franchise, a startup, open up multiple locations or develop multiple territories, and develop that for less than what it would cost you to buy the existing business? Is beating the clock, right? When I looked at a lot of existing businesses, what I always try to find out is, what's the hidden surprise? What's wrong with it? And that's the hard part of trying to buy an existing business. So it may look very attractive, but the deal is there's skeletons somewhere there. You just got to figure out what they are. So I always had a hard time finding the type of resales that threw off the cash flow that would replace my corporate income. And I had a hard time trying to find where the skeletons were. And so that's where I always leaned on starting something fresh and building it, because I knew I could beat the clock and do it better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take one last one, which I think is a really good one. Finding the right talent is key to success. And you need the right workers in your business. Are there services, Pete, that help with such matters as hiring and retention of good workers for your franchise business?
So all franchises, or most franchise companies, are going to have basically a set process. They're going to tell you who you're looking for, what kind of skills they should have, how to find them from that standpoint, and even give you kind of, for lack of better terms, the job responsibilities of those individuals and recommended pay plans and stuff like that. We're now seeing, out of necessity, I believe, more franchise companies are creating within the franchisor a recruiting department to help their franchisees find the skilled people, the core employees from that standpoint. And so you're seeing some pretty cool things. Now, ultimately, they can help you identify them, but you have to decide, hey, is this the person I want to hire because it's your team member? But we're seeing more of those internal recruiting departments to do that. The second thing is they're also kind of developing things that will help you retain your team members. And there's many things you can do. And we're seeing this trend, whether you're working for a corporation or you own your own business. There's a shift now where you have to be more transparent with your employees, whether it's a franchise or you're a corporate executive, transparent in terms of employees, what their career path is. And we have to appreciate employees more. And so I think you're seeing more of that stuff adopted, even in small businesses like franchises.
Very cool. All right, we're going to wrap this up, Pete. Thank you, as always, for making time and sharing your insight. Thanks to all who tuned in and asked your questions. Again, follow the link. If something occurs to you after the mics go down, or later today or tomorrow or the next day, begin to think about this more seriously and have some just wondering questions. please follow the link. That's what Pete is there for, and he's more than happy to take those questions. With that, any final thoughts, Pete, before we officially wrap up today's?
I just tell everybody, I encourage people to learn. You know, whether you're looking for a job or you want to find a business, you have nothing to lose by learning. And so I can teach you how to answer a lot of your questions. And so you do want to put yourself in a position where you can control your own destiny and live life on your terms. It is well worth the effort to do that. And franchising may or may not be for you, but I encourage you to learn, to see if it is.
It's a great way to be. All right, Pete, thank you again. Thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you at the next session.